A model that costs less than a cup of coffee per million tokens just went head-to-head with the most expensive AI on the market, and won on coding. That is not a headline from a hype blog. That is what the benchmarks show. And here is the thing. This is not a budget alternative you tolerate when cash is tight. This is a legitimate threat to your current AI stack. If you are defaulting to GPT 4o for text and code work right now, you are almost certainly overpaying. By the end of this, you will have a final grade on DeepSeek V3 and a clear answer on whether it belongs in your workflow. We are grading it the same way we grade every tool here. Coding performance, reasoning precision, and cost to value ROI. Same criteria every time. Let's get into it. Before we run any tests, let's talk about what is actually happening under the hood, because the architecture is the reason this model can be this cheap without falling apart on quality. DeepSeek V3 runs on a mixture of expert setup. The model has 671 billion total parameters, but here is the key. Only 37 billion of those are active at any given time. Think of it like a large specialist crew where only the right people show up for each job. You are not paying the whole team to stand around. You are getting exactly the expert you need, exactly when you need it. That matters because it cuts the compute cost dramatically compared to a dense model where everything fires at once. Less idle processing means lower inference cost, and that saving gets passed directly to you through the pricing. Now, this is not a small model pretending to punch above its weight. DeepSeek V3 was trained on 14.8 trillion tokens. That is a genuinely well-trained system running lean, not a lightweight model with clever marketing wrapped around it. The training foundation is real. So what does this mean for you as a solopreneur or a small team running high-volume workflows? It means you are not paying for idle compute. You are paying for exactly what gets used. That structural efficiency earns points before we even look at a single output. There is one more thing worth flagging here. DeepSeek V3 benefits from reasoning distillation pulled from DeepSeek R1, their dedicated reasoning model. That means the logic backbone baked into V3 is stronger than you would expect from a general-purpose model at this price point. It is not just fast and cheap. It has depth. So the architecture is doing real work here. The question is whether that translates when you actually put it through a demanding workflow. That is what we are looking at next. So the architecture looks strong on paper. Let's see if it actually holds up when you put it to work. The benchmark picture is clear. DeepSeek V3 goes head-to-head with GPT 4o on coding tasks, and the gap is smaller than most people expect. On structured data-heavy coding work, analytical scripts, prediction models, complex logic chains. This is where DeepSeek V3 is most at home. It handles multi-step reasoning problems cleanly and consistently. That reasoning distillation from R1 we talked about in the last section, you feel it here. The logic backbone shows up when you need it most. Where it genuinely wins is on the kind of coding work that most solopreneurs and small teams are actually running day to day. Think automation scripts, data processing pipelines, back-end logic, API integrations, the workload that makes up the bulk of real coding workflows. On those tasks, DeepSeek V3 is not just competitive with GPT 4o, it is matching it, and in some analytical scenarios, beating it. Teams that have stress-tested both models report that the performance difference is smaller than they expected going in. That matters because if the output quality is near identical, the only meaningful variable left is price. And we will get to that in a minute. Now, where does GPT 4o still have an edge? Two areas that are worth being honest about. First, multimodal tasks. GPT 4o can take image input. DeepSeek V3 cannot. If your workflow involves image-to-code generation, reading screenshots, or interpreting visual data, DeepSeek V3 is simply not the right tool right now. That is not a minor limitation if that is a core part of how you work. Second, output length. GPT-4o supports up to 16,400 output tokens. DeepSeek V3 caps at 8,000. For most coding tasks, 8K tokens is more than enough. But if you are generating long-form code, writing extensive documentation in a single pass, or handling large structured outputs, that ceiling can become a real constraint. Know your use case before you commit. Outside of those two specific gaps, the picture is strong. The reasoning quality punches well above the price point. The context window sits at 128,000 tokens, large enough for most production workflows without any special handling. And the speed is real. At roughly 60 tokens per second, it is 3 times faster than its predecessor and moves quickly enough to fit into production pipelines without creating bottlenecks. Here is the honest grade signal from this section. Coding and reasoning performance lands DeepSeek V3 firmly in A tier. The asterisk is the multimodal gap and the output length cap. If neither of those applies to your workflow, you can largely ignore the asterisk. But here is the thing. Performance alone does not close the case. A model can be fast, accurate, and well-built, and still be the wrong call if the economics do not stack up. So let's talk about the number that actually determines whether this fits into your stack. The pricing model here is, frankly, hard to ignore. DeepSeek V3 currently runs at 28 cents per million input tokens on a cache miss. That means cold prompts, ones the system has not seen before, cost less than $0.33 per million tokens. Compare that to GPT-4o at $2.50 per million input tokens. That is already a significant gap. But the real unlock is caching. On cache hits, repeated prompts, recurring inputs, anything the system has already processed, the price drops to $0.028 per million tokens. That is a 90% reduction on repeated inputs. Output tokens run at $0.42 per million versus GPT-4o's $10 per million on the output side. Run that math in plain terms. The same workload that costs you dollars on GPT-4o costs you cents here, not slightly less, cents on the dollar. Now think about how caching compounds in real workflows. If you are running a chatbot, an automation layer, or any iterative process where similar prompts fire repeatedly, cache hits stack fast. The savings are not linear. They grow with volume. The higher your usage, the more dramatic the gap becomes between what you spend here versus what you would spend on a premium closed model. For teams that are still deciding whether to test it, DeepSeek offers a free tier of 5 million tokens before you spend anything. That is enough to put it through a real workflow and see whether the output quality holds up for your specific use case, without any upfront commitment. So what is the ROI grade? Straightforward. It is near the top of anything we have graded on this channel. Roughly 95% cheaper than leading closed models on output tokens, with performance parity on the coding and reasoning tasks that most business workflows actually rely on. That combination is almost unfair to the competition. One real limitation worth flagging before we close this section: DeepSeek V3 is currently available through a single primary provider. There is no multi-cloud redundancy built in the way you get with OpenAI or Anthropic. If uptime, reliability, and failover are non-negotiable requirements for your production stack, that is a genuine risk to factor in. It does not disqualify the model, but it is the honest asterisk on the cost side, just like the multimodal gap was the honest asterisk on the performance side. So we have the architecture, the benchmark performance, and the pricing. Now let's bring it all together and hand out the final grade. DeepSeek V3 gets an A. Strong architecture, real benchmark performance, and pricing that makes every competing model look expensive. Best fit for high-volume coding, automation, and data-heavy workflows where you are paying per token, and multimodality is not a requirement. Not the right call if you need image input, outputs beyond 8K tokens, or production-level redundancy across multiple providers. Bottom line, If you are still defaulting to GPT-4o for text and code, you are leaving serious money on the table. Check the link below for the full grade breakdown. Subscribe to skip the guesswork on the next one.